I'm setting up for an interview with a YMCA community partner. So it's somebody who, I believe they're on the board. You know, honestly, it's rare for me to actually know who I'm interviewing until they arrive. Partially by the fact that it's just a time thing. Good morning.
Good morning.
Are you up? You gonna be filmed?
No.
So I'm actually filming in the daycare, but that's because that's the only room available. But we're gonna try to make this back wall look a little bit better. Obviously, subject will be in that chair. This is just preliminary lighting. It looks really flat, but that's where a little color light comes in and can do a lot of work for us. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So there we go. That just adds a little bit of background. It's also going to help us not only make the frame a little bit more interesting, but it's going to help separate our subject because, you know, he'll be white and the background will be blue. When he actually arrives, I'm probably going to move this over and adjust it and just see what my frame is. But for now, this is pretty much it. So I'm just going to set up audio, and then we're going to go wait for our man. Well, my subject canceled last minute, which is a shame because now I can't show you what the final product would have looked like, but that's all right. It's the nature of the game. We were scheduled for tomorrow, and I have another one here at 11 a.m. or not here, in Goffstown. I'm in Concord. Now I'm going from Concord to Goffstown, so we're going to break all this down and head out of here. So this is the space that I have to use for right now. I'm probably gonna shoot this way against the wall is what I'm thinking. I've done it before. I'm not a big fan of that. And that's kind of hard to crop out, and it's like bolted to the wall. So we'll have to kind of move this table a little bit. And hopefully that doesn't happen while we're interviewing. So yeah, get set up. Never mind, it is not bolted to the wall, it was just hanging. For some reason I remember like we couldn't move this last time, but I'm happy to be wrong there. So once again, I can't really get the right framing and lighting and stuff until my subject arrives, but this is the basic of the setup. This is pretty much the same as the last in all locations. You have a key light, which is your main source of light on their face, and then a little bit of a side fill that just helps take any shadow off. So if they're facing this way, you have this light, and then this helps just lighten up the shadow. And then this is just to brighten the background. Obviously, we have a little bit of color just to help separate them. This will obviously all be adjusted. The color of that light, I usually go with blue just because it's one of the YMCA's colors, but I might pick a different one just because this wall is already blue, but we'll see how it looks when they arrive, because sometimes what you can use instead of putting color on the wall, if there's already a nice color behind them to separate them, is we can turn that ever so slightly so some of the hairs on their side and maybe the edge of their ear just light up a little bit with some color, and that also helps. There's something called a hairline light, which is what I keep this one as a backup for. If you just want to get a little bit of light along the side of their face coming from behind across their cheekbones, then usually I'll put this little bad guy back here somewhere. It just takes a little bit of light, just a tiny bit, to hit the side of their face. And that's that can make a real difference on keeping someone from looking flat and disappearing into your background there. Okay, so we're all done. I've already started breaking stuff down. It went well, but I wasn't super happy with the lighting, just because I sort of, I don't know, she was a little older, so she was much shorter than I expected. So, you know, I was trying to cut out that banister and whatever. It was fine. It looked fine. She's a great speaker, though, so ultimately it doesn't really matter. It's about the content. She's a very charming woman, so now we break it all up again. All right, so I will fill you in, since people, they got some invested loved ones involved right now. Or, well, I don't know, whatever. That sounds so much more dramatic than it is. So I don't get any answers, which I wasn't expecting, but I did confirm some suspicions, or I now have a doctor who's also suspicious of the same things. So, again, to repeat, I think something that I've already said in yesterday's video, I have chronic thrush on my tongue, which, if you don't know, is basically a yeast infection on your tongue. Now, it's not like a contagious yeast infection or anything like that. It's that, there's yeast in the air at all times. Everybody has enzymes and probiotics that essentially keep that yeast from growing cultures on your tongue or on any open orifice of your body, right? I don't have enough of those, right? So I get these things of yeast that hurt. They feel like you've burned your mouth on pizza. And so I get that chronically, like pretty regularly. I can always tell if I'm getting bad sleep, or I'm eating like crap, or I get sick. Anytime where my immune system is low, that thrush goes insane. There's certain foods that seem to trigger it, like citrus. Like I can't drink smoothies, orange juice, things like that. Even hot sauce lately, if I eat a lot of chips and salsa or something, my thrush is crazy. If I spend a weekend and I'm drinking lots of beer, my thrush goes crazy. Right along the sides of my tongue, specifically where food is passing over as I swallow it. So that I knew, and I also get this sore throat. This is all coming to a point, right? This is all just give you some context. I also get these sore throats that feel like strep on one side usually, and sometimes they come with no other symptoms, which is super rare with strep. Not unheard of, but not very common. So I will go and I'll get these strep tests, and they'll come back negative of no strep, but yet they're solved with antibiotics. So I'm thinking, well, I have strep, right? So I had a doctor at an urgent care who said, I think your thrush and your sore throats are somehow related, which made a lot of sense in a way that I couldn't quite describe, but I'm now understanding a picture of how they might actually be related. So I have a geographic tongue, which my father has, which is his is much more pronounced than mine. If he goes like this, you'll see cracks in his tongue. It's natural, it's, whatever, it's like genetic thing. So I have enough of a geographic tongue where it looks like there's cultures on my tongue, which I always thought was the thrush. But the doctor was saying that is just how your tongue is. However, people with geographic tongues are more prone to issues with things like thrush or any sort of infection on their tongue, just because, whatever, I guess bacteria gets wedged in it. So, like I said, my thrush is very predictable. It seems like anytime my immune system's weak. I'm stressed, bad sleep, yada yada. So what might be happening is thrush can spread to your tonsils and the back of your throat and can hurt just like it does on your tongue. It can spread anywhere in your mouth, and it can hurt just like it does on your tongue, which I might be perceiving as a sore throat. So the fact that I'm getting a sore throat every time I'm sick could actually be that I'm just getting really bad thrush every time I'm sick. So when I would just get a normal sickness, I'm also getting what feels like strep throat. Now here's where it gets very speculative, but every time I get strep throat, they treat me with antibiotics, which in my mind makes it better. But also every time I get antibiotics, because of the nature of how antibiotics work, it makes my thrush go insane because it's killing all of the probiotics that are, because antibiotics don't discriminate, they kill everything, good, bad bacteria. That's why you get like diarrhea when you take antibiotics. So when I take antibiotics, my thrush goes insane. And so one of the things that I do to combat that is I take a probiotic every day while I'm taking it, and my sore throat goes away. So you can see where I'm going with this. Theorizing that what's actually making my sore throat better is not the antibiotics, but the probiotic that I'm taking to make the thrush better. So all in all, it comes down to I might still be getting sick somewhat frequently, but my sicknesses wouldn't always come with such a fierce sore throat and fierce mouth sores if I was taking a probiotic. So what I'm going to try to do is take a probiotic regularly every single day from now on and see if it doesn't reduce my amounts of sore throats or mouth sores or thrush in general on my tongue to a minimum, if not zero. That's the theory, right? He being the doctor was not necessarily confident that that will fix it, but he was pretty confident that's worth trying to see if that doesn't at the very least get rid of my sore throat frequency. Because at this point, what is probably happening, because the only thing I have left in terms of my ailments, really, I mean, I'm a little tired, but that could be chalked up to other things, is my sore throat and these sores on my mouth. So I've been taking probiotics for the last 2 or 3 days, and that's when I started to see some improvement in the sore throat. Nothing crazy, but maybe I just need to give it more time. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. That doesn't necessarily explain why I'm getting sick all the time, but maybe I wouldn't feel like I'm sick all the time if every time I was sick I wasn't like dying from a sore throat and feeling like I had, strep throat or something. Because ultimately, looked at my blood. I'm giving so much medical information. Ultimately, we looked at my blood work. I'm as healthy as a horse. I've got perfect scores all across the board. Which, not to blow my own steam, but I try to take care of myself. I'd say as much, or if not, maybe a little bit more than a lot of people. I'm young. I exercise frequently. I'm pretty conscious of my diet, even though I'm not great about it. Whatever. So I shouldn't be having such an issue, and there's just nothing that I don't know. Who knows? Well, this is the only thing we can try, and if this doesn't help, then we'll go on to the next thing. But I was somewhat something about that doctor that one time who said, I think your sore throat and your thrush are somehow related. I was like, I'm not a doctor, but I for some reason agree in my gut. So I don't know. We'll find out. I'll tell you one thing that was sort of annoying was the doctor had a trainee or whatever with there, which was fine or whatever. But she kept suggesting that I need to, when I go to the grocery store, to wipe down my shopping cart. And if I did that, I would get sick less. I don't know if she's wrong, but that is just not the advice I'm going to a doctor for. It's like, oh, you should wash your hands and avoid bacteria. It's like, oh, thank you. Thank you for that super medically profound and unique insight, doctor. Anyways. I think that cough is just left over. I don't know. I'm willing to try.